Family, what's good? Hey, check me out. We're here talking about For the Win. And then For the Win, a video I put up a couple weeks ago talks about how we are developing a community for athletes to transition from playing sports to walking into purpose in real life. I use air quotes because it's always been real life, but now you don't have sports or whatever high level, high intensity living you were doing, which is a lot in sports, whether it was high school, college, or professional. There are things that we have to encounter that no one else knows unless you've been an athlete. And the main thing is what we have to overcome and accept is finding our identity. This video, this lesson is going to give you an idea of what our community is going to be around and how we're going to dive deep into the things that a lot of us don't want to talk about as athletes. I don't care if you play football, basketball, gymnastics, swimming, lacrosse, hockey, it doesn't matter to me. If you are an athlete, I understand the sacrifice, the intentionality and determination and commitment you put into your sport, whether it be diet, everything, to be able to play that sport at the best level you could possibly do it, at the top level you could possibly do it for as long as you could. Because truth of the matter is, no matter how old you get, wherever you are, no matter what, sports as playing comes to an end. Yet, we struggle with some things that we don't want to talk about, and one of those main things is identity crisis. You can go to a psychologist, you can go to a counselor about it, but if they have not played, all they got is science for you. But there's a component that comes different from someone who was an athlete, all right? Because you'll never stop being an athlete in mind. You always think you can go out there and hit a home run, score a touchdown, tackle whoever, all that good stuff. But as you get close to your 40s and in your 30s, you realize, yeah, that's a young man's sport, that's a young lady's sport. But identity is something that we struggle with because we were crowned on our capabilities, man. Like what you were able to do on that field or in that field of play, you were crowned on it and you shined. And it happened at such a young age. You know, you don't realize how young 15 is till you get 40. You don't realize how young 20 is until you get 35. Like, man, this is, man, that was a long time ago seeming like, but there's a lot of pressure put on you and you were able to rise to it and rise through it because you were determined about it. And there were things in your determination, there were different things that people are trying to figure out, you know, in their adulthood about being determined, being disciplined, and being committed to something that they just didn't have when they were, didn't have the opportunity to have when they were younger. Maybe they didn't have sports access to it, parents didn't like it or didn't allow it, whatever the case may be. But when it's done, who are you? Who are you without that sport? Who are you without a coach? Who are you without a team? Who are you, for real, who are you? Are you able to answer that question? If not, it's okay. But are you honest enough with yourself to be able to say, I don't have an answer to that question? Check this out. What happens when an athlete transitions to a new role? First off, you have to realize you are transitioning to a non-athletic career or new life, and that can be challenging. You're transitioning from an athletic to a non-athletic career, new life. It's different, two different worlds. Here's the thing for a lot of us, you feel unprepared about life without sports. You're struggling to find a new career path that matches your skill and interests, and you're comparing success in other fields to their achievements in sports. We are always going to live in the shadow of the highlight of our career, no matter what it was. High school, college, or pros, you are always going to be in the shadow of that because that's how people are going to perceive you. But you cannot look at yourself like that. That was a moment in time that you have to move on from. Your sense of identity directs you in every situation in your life. It is the foundation of determining the level of confidence you're going to have when you face life challenges. It's different when you can go to the weight room, go on the field of play and improve yourself regardless of how you feel. But it's easier to do that because you're an athlete in whatever sport. But when you're not an athlete, you don't have a field of play to prove yourself. You feel like you don't, but you do. While you're transitioning from athletic life to non-athletic life, you are faced with your greatest and most feared opponent. It's yourself. It's you. Because you know your weaknesses, you know your soft spots, you know where everything is. And we look at our failures or what we cannot do often in transitioning more than looking at who we are because we're struggling to figure out and express our own identity. Let's break this down. All athletes, you are either at that point or going to get to that point or got through that point where you have to take full authority of your life. full authority. You don't have full authority of your life as an athlete. You think you do, but you don't. You really don't. Let me explain this, because you don't lead yourself. You don't have to lead yourself. You're in charge of responding to your responsibilities. Your coach is in charge. The coaches are in charge. There's a whole organization that has a set of bylaws and rules or contracts for you to abide by that keeps you in charge of you. You don't have the authority to make those rules. Now, for those who break those rules, that goes against what the authority has given you, you're out of there. So you're not in authority, but you are in charge of the responsibilities you agreed to. So when it comes down to transitioning into life, and you are now the authority, you don't have any experience in that. Little to none. You know how to be in charge of something. You know what I mean? You know how to be in charge of yourself. Control your teammates, just where you go, how you do, what you do, stuff like that, because you know you have to abide by a set of rules. It's completely different when you have to, it's completely different when you are in charge of everything and you are the authority figure. Knowing how to lead yourself has less to do with your behavior, but more to do with your identity. Who are you? Many are encouraged to change their behavior when you get done playing sports, because you have more time to do stuff and figure stuff out. But just because you change your behavior and you learn how to change your behavior does not make up for the void of authority that you don't know how to do with yourself, because you're guessing. And as you are guessing at times, what you're going to do is you're going to try to find what people have done. You're going to try to find the best identity that people can accept, and you're going to rock that as long as you can. I want to tell you the difference between being in charge and being in authority. Number one, being in charge is having responsibility for a specific task, group, or situation. The key features of being in charge are you're task oriented. You focus on overseeing a particular activity or group in a specific context. You have a very limited scope when you're in charge. Being in charge often applies to temporary or situational roles. You are assigned a role, which means someone's assigned you to that role. You are under someone else, and you have relational influence, relies on direct supervision and task delegation to achieve the goals. Being in charge means you have responsibility for execution. It doesn't mean that you have decision-making power or potential choices to make over broader outcomes. No, you're responsible for said task. Now let's look at what it means to have authority. Being an authority, having the power to make decisions, enforce rules, and influence behavior. You're power-oriented. It involves a recognized position of control or influence over others. In this case, it'd be yourself. You have a broader scope. Authority often includes the ability to create policies, set goals, and direct others over an extended period of time. You got to have a vision for yourself. All right? If you're a father, you're a mother, you got to have a vision for your family. You have a legitimate role now. Authority is derived from an official title. What's the title you have now? You're a man, you are a woman who has a purpose to fulfill. Being a man, it's a lot. It's not just about being able to provide, being able to build stuff. It's a lot, especially fathers, because transitioning into life it's an evolving process. It's not just a revolving door where you just go and grab something. No, you have to evolve. As an athlete, they want you to evolve to the best athlete you can be, but that peaks out for a lot of us real early. And after a while, there is no more evolution because you mastered said position and you start to decline as you get older. You're not as fast anymore, quick, all that good stuff. But as a man, you have to evolve. As a woman, you have to evolve. And there's a lot of adjustments that no one tells you about because you're not just in charge anymore, you're the authority figure. You have authority over your life fully. Let's keep going. The key point is, the last one in being authority, strategic influence. You focus on shaping overall direction and maintaining order or standards for yourself and your family. You got to figure this thing out. It's tough when you're the authority figure and you have no experience of being the authority figure. You only know how to be in charge, having a task to be responsible over, and you know how to do that very, very, very well. Especially when you found a niche with your gifts and capabilities in playing sports. Now that's done with, and now you are thrown to be an authority figure in this big old world, and you have no resume, no experience. What you gonna do? Well, for me, I say pray. You got to find God and find your purpose for real. Because without him, you'll be in a revolving door, and what you will be doing, you'll be using a fake ID. I say that because you know what it's like when someone uses a fake ID to get into the bar, get into a club. You are anxious and you are hoping they don't look at that ID long enough to figure out that you are not the person you are presenting yourself to be. Okay? Because even if you get in, even if you get in the bar or club, you're still limited to what you're going to do, how you can do it, because you're not supposed to be there. And you are not there as yourself, you're there as someone else. Don't get a different passport, don't get a fake ID. You gotta learn to become yourself and love yourself. I want you to learn how to have a balance of yourself. Don't think too highly, don't think too lowly. Here's why. If you think too highly of yourself, if you think too lowly of yourself, you think of yourself as unqualified and unworthy of leading anything, and miss the opportunity God has given you to make the needed changes or create something great for yourself. Don't think too lowly of yourself. I know you're in a vulnerable state, hard to express it. You feel like crying sometimes. But this is the change that God has ordained for you. It's not a mistake. But don't go into this change thinking so lowly of yourself and or just highlighting what you used to do. Because where you are right now is just as useful. And you are just as useful and just as needed. All right? And don't think too highly of yourself. If you think too highly of yourself, you will overestimate your own abilities and try to promote yourself using your fake ID and miss the opportunities to acknowledge your mistakes and be in fear of being exposed as a fraud. You start lying, covering up, saying all kinds of stuff and doing all kinds of stuff because I got it, I did it, because you're thinking about what you're able to do at a high level when playing sports. Y'all, it's completely different in this real world per se. Know where you are, value where you are, and you got to find a direction where you want to grow and go. Because a lot of times we don't know how to correlate life and sports, because life is a lot like sports. It goes up and down. You can play real well at one season, next season not so much because stuff has changed. You got to learn something different. It's the same in life. The difference is there aren't just seasons that are regulated to 12, 10, or 18 weeks. Okay? It is an everyday battle. And sometimes your season can last a few years until you figure out what it is you want to do, and or you have to learn how to move in that field you want to be in. You may have to go to school, you may have to learn a trade, you may have to figure out something different, and it may take a while to get over that bell curve. It's not going to be the next season 12 months down the road. It may take you 24 months, 36 months. You got to be open to that kind of change and put in that kind of work for what you want. Okay? This is a task for everybody. Especially, I'm talking to athletes right now, because you're going to have to learn how to evolve and to accept what you don't agree with, what you don't like, because you're in a different world, but you can do it. But I need you to find yourself. Come on, man. Come on, young lady. Come on, young man. Find yourself. Find yourself. You are not who they said you are. You are who God made you to be. Okay? And you may not know that right now. It may be a struggle for you to believe that you're more than just an athlete, but you really are. Because God created you in his image, which means he did not make you with a flaw. He made you with a purpose to fulfill. Now we got to get together. It's going to take some work. It is. We'll have to work it out. This is what For the Win is for. We're going to help build your confidence. Because a lot of people aren't talking about it like this. Go to a psychologist, go to counselor. I'm not knocking that, but I'm telling you, you were made for a purpose in God's image. You are made for a purpose to fulfill that's bigger than anything you can think, imagine, or even hold in your hands. And you got it. You can do it. But we got to switch from just being in charge of our life to take a full authority of it. I'm praying for you in the transition. Whether in high school, coming out, college, or pros, you can do it, and we're here to help. All right? Talk to you soon. Let's get it.